Hello, I'm going to be talking about Rishi Sunak's grand gesture with our money. But before that, I just want to tell you, I scolded myself. This is the dangers of drinking coffee. We use a cafetiere and I put the water, the hot water, the boiling water in over the coffee, and then I was in a hurry and I pushed the plunger down and boiling hot coffee just squirted out around the lid and onto my arm. So I put some lint round it, or whatever it's called, and to keep that clean, I've covered it in vet wrap. There's nothing like vet wrap. I do advise anyone, if there's one thing I got out of owning horses that's really useful in all sorts of applications through in my ordinary non-horsey life, vet wrap is the thing. It's marvellous. It sticks to itself. You see, it comes undone, but it keeps bandages lovely and clean. Right, so that's that. Okay, now, Rishi Sunak, the guy I didn't want to lead the Conservative Party, specifically the guy I didn't want to lead the country, now look what he's doing. You see, it doesn't matter. He can be as generous as he wants because it's only our money he's spending. Britain opens the door to climate change reparations for poorer nations, he says here. Isn't that great? All right. Number 10 could be forced to pay out aid cash to countries hit by global warming disasters. This is ridiculous. How many global warming disasters can the British taxpayer carry on our shoulders? Just a minute. Hello, well, I am interrupting myself again because I got so heated. I suppose that's global warming thing. I got so heated that I forgot to do the station ID, so I'm doing that now. I'm Granniopteryx. I'm on YouTube, Rumble, BitChute and Minds. Also on Twitter, Gab and Parler, where I am at Granniopteryx. Please like, share and subscribe to my channel. That helps with the algorithm. If you're on YouTube, remember, subscribing is... You may think, oh, I'm already subscribed, but YouTube tends to drop subscriptions, so check that out. And of course, sharing and liking are important too. If you want to help me financially, buy me a coffee or one of the links in the description. All right, that's it. Back to my diatribe. Sorry about that. My husband telling me he'll be home soon. You see, I did all this myself, one-handed. I felt very heroic. Anyway, back to Rishi Sunak. You see, he wasn't going to go to COP27, but then he was going to go. And there he is, turning up on the plane in his shirt sleeves because he's that kind of guy. And then first thing he does, gets off the plane and says, it's all right, world, we'll pay you everything, like we don't have enough to pay for. Britain has opened the door to paying climate change reparations. Reparations, bunkum. And China's the country that should be paying reparations, if any reparations are to be paid. And India, by the way, they're the two dirtiest countries in the world. On Sunday at the meeting in Egypt, you know, our Prime Minister, who wasn't going to be there, UK negotiators backed a last-minute agreement to address loss and damage payments in countries badly affected by climate-related disasters. No, most of them are badly affected by their own inefficiency and corruption. Bangladesh is full of flooding. Holland could be full of flooding as well, but Holland got its act together. Officials lived decent, honest lives, and they made seawalls for themselves. In Bangladesh, they just wail and cry because they're flooded, because the rich people and the government are taking all the money and oppressing the poor people, making them stand in rice fields or shrimp beds or whatever up to their knees in water all day. It's nothing to do with Britain. We're buying their stuff. They are actually selling us stuff, but they are not ploughing that money back into their own infrastructure. This is ridiculous. Loss and damage for carelessness, religious fatalism and corruption. Why should I pay for that? Rishi Sunak will appear at the conference in Sharm el-Sheikh on Monday, where he will pledge 65.5 million for green technology in developing countries. No, that 65.5 million should be here doing green technology here, which we can then export. Shove money at it. Yeah, that's the answer to everything, isn't it? The Prime Minister will say that they're already prepared for this. By honouring the pledges we made in Glasgow, we can turn our struggle against climate change into a global mission for new jobs and clean growth. No, there is no battle against climate change. You know the story about King Canute. Now, he is much vilified because people got the wrong end of it. His courtiers were telling him, he's the most powerful man in the world, he's a great man, he's almost a god, and he said, come here, I'll show you. And he had them take his throne down to the beach, and he stood there. Just watch this, he said. And when the tide was coming in, he said, I order the tide to go out. And of course, the tide came in and wet his feet, whereupon he decamped. That was not him thinking he could do that. That was him acknowledging that there are some things you simply cannot stop. If the earth is going through a warming cycle, there is nothing we can do to stop it. We can mitigate it. We can mitigate it by educating our people. We can mitigate it by putting in proper defences. The Dutch have been doing that for hundreds of years, for about 400 years they've been holding the sea back. Bangladesh could do the same, but no, they're just going to add more money to the Bangladeshi coffers for the Bangladeshi government to squander in various ways or to slip underneath the desk. And indeed, that's what our own government is doing now, only pretending some sort of morality instead. Let's carry on. And we can bequeath our children a greener planet. I'd like to bequeath my children a future. And if we bankrupt this country any more than it's already going down the tubes, then there will be no future. And do you think Pakistan is going to come to our aid? Not bloody likely. Pakistan is leading a push by, oh yeah, it would be, wouldn't it? While they're funding the Taliban, while they're offering aid and comfort to the enemies of Britain and America and Australia, to people who would tear down Western democracy altogether. That's what Pakistan is doing. And we're talking, Pakistan is leading a push by developing countries for compensation from richer countries. Oh yeah, you're rich, we're corrupt, you pay us money, that'll make everything better. You know, if there's one thing I have an argument about with Christianity, it's flagellation. Flagellating yourself does not make the world a better place, it just gives you sore shoulders. The UK backed the issue being on the COP27 agenda during 2 days of negotiations ahead of the Egypt summit, and is understood to accept that a deal must be done over the economic cost of climate change, which is forecast to reach 1 trillion by 2050. It's going to reach a lot more. It's going to reach a lot more because there is no end to it. And these governments, our governments that represent us, are going to be squandering our money to make themselves feel good. Well, they're not making me feel good. They're not making my son in a downstairs flat in London feel good. Trying to bring up a child with one in a 1.5 bedroom flat in a basement. Do you think they feel good because Britain is giving millions to people who are going to spend it in the wrong way? Labour, oh yes it would, has backed calls for the UK to pay other countries affected by climate change, with Ed Miliband, the shadow climate minister, calling it a moral responsibility. I'll tell you what, you guys in the Labour Party, go to a bank, the Bank of Bangladesh if there is one still left, and kneel. Get on your knee and hand them all the money out your pocket. I'm very happy if you do that. You leave my money alone. Alok Sharma, who held the COP residency for the UK, also called for ambitious outcomes on the issue of loss and damage. Disagreements over it threaten to derail the success of last year's climate talks. And there is no end to giving compensation. You give compensation to one country and then the next country asks, and the next and the next. There is no end to that. Just like this, just look at this. Bangladesh, people walked through a flooded area in the aftermath of Cyclone Sitrang in October 2022. Well, all right. And where are the flood defences? What happened to the flood defences? It is a country that is prone to floods. Why are there people walking around? It's not like they're poor. The Dutch, the 300 years ago, they weren't that wealthy either. They built seawalls. So we're going to be paying negotiators who will have to reach an agreement by the end of 2 weeks on how countries will tackle loss and damage funds, and will be expected to make final decisions by 2024. I am not interested. This is because of their own corruption. Final 2 paragraphs. Under the UK's presidency, last year's COP established the Glasgow Dialogue to discuss funding arrangements to avert, minimise and address loss and damage as a result of climate change. We also agreed more funding for the Santiago network, which will provide technical assistance to the most vulnerable communities to prepare for climate impacts. That's a reasonable idea. People going out to help communities protect themselves. But that's too simple, because the government officials who are going to be pocketing all these funds, they're not going to benefit from it. So they'll be against it. That, you know, just, I can't, hand me some money. It's all right. We'll deal with it well. It'll find a good home. The UK is committed to spending 11.6 billion on international climate finances. No, the UK is not committed. I'm not committed. It's those guys in Sunak's entourage who are committed, spending our money. And I don't like that very much. I don't like it, not because I object to paying for poor people in distress, but because I know it won't go to poor people in distress. Funding conservation efforts around the globe. Good idea if British people are doing it. And investing in vital R&D efforts to accelerate the rollout of clean technology in developing countries. All right, well, that's it. Look, again, I forgot to do the station identification stuff, so I'll say till next time. I'll record a granniopteryx section and I'll insert it somewhere in the video I just made. Okay, till next time. Why not treat yourself or a favoured relative or friend to these magnificent examples of merch? The mugs and t-shirts come in the granniopteryx design or Granbo with a firearm or the more deadly knitting needles. Go to www.granniopteryx.com and whatever platform you're watching this on, please click like, subscribe and share.